You know that feeling when you scroll through a mountain of camera listings, see glossy pictures of a full-frame DSLR, read the hype about professional-grade low-light performance, and then you finally hit buy only to discover it feels like a compromise when you actually load it up on a shoot? I've been there, and that's why this video is all about making sure the Nikon D3S doesn't become another disappointment in your gear bag. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. I spent a few days digging through Nikon's legacy forums, watching long-form tests from seasoned shooters, and cross-referencing the specs with what real-world photographers actually need day-to-day. What you'll get here is a straight-talk rundown of what the D3S really brings to the table, where it shines, and where it might leave you wishing for something newer. Let's start with the big picture. The D3S is part of Nikon's professional D3 line that debuted over a decade ago. It's a full-frame, FX, DSLR with a 12.1 megapixel CMOS sensor, and that sensor size is still a huge advantage when you're hunting for clean images at high ISO. The camera's native ISO range goes from 200 up to 12,800, and the XT image processor does a solid job of keeping noise in check even when you push it to 6,400 or 12,800 on the fly. For anyone who's ever tried to capture a wedding reception, a dimly lit concert, or a nighttime sports event, that low-noise high ISO performance translates into usable photos without having to lean on a flash or a tripod. Autofocus is another area where the D3S still feels relevant. It sports a 51-point AF system, all of them cross-type, which gives you confidence that the focus lock will hold even when you're tracking fast-moving subjects. In practice, that means you can follow a sprinter on the track or a bird in flight and the camera will keep the subject sharp, provided you have a decent lens with a fast aperture. The AF engine is also paired with the ability to shoot up to 9 frames per second in continuous mode, which is a sweet spot for sports or wildlife photography where you need a burst of images to catch that decisive moment. Now, let's talk about what you actually get out of the box, because the D3S is sold as a body-only package. That means you'll have to pair it with lenses, and that's both a strength and a limitation. Nikon's FX lens lineup is extensive, with decades of glass that's known for high optical quality. If you already own a collection of Nikon lenses, especially the classic 2470f/2.8, 70200f/2.8, or any of the fast primes, the D3S will slot right in and let you leverage that investment. On the flip side, if you're starting from scratch, you'll need to budget for lenses that can actually make use of the camera's low-light capabilities. A slow, kit-type lens will bottleneck the sensor's potential, and you'll end up paying for a high-performance body that can't deliver its promise. One practical strength that often gets overlooked is the dual CF card slot configuration. While most modern cameras have moved to SD or XQD, the D3S still offers 2 compact flash bays, giving you the option to overflow onto a second card, create a backup on the fly, or even copy files from one slot to the other without swapping cards mid-shoot. For a wedding photographer or a documentary crew that can't afford to lose any shots, that redundancy is a real lifesaver. Just keep in mind that CF cards are becoming harder to find and tend to be pricier than their SD counterparts, so you'll need to plan your storage strategy ahead of time. Battery confidence is another practical point. The D3S uses Nikon's NL4 battery, which, according to multiple field reports, can comfortably power a full day of shooting roughly 1,200 shots in typical use, plus video recording. If you're accustomed to swapping batteries every few hundred shots, you'll notice a pleasant shift with this model. However, the camera does not have a US charging port, so you'll still need a charger and a spare battery if you're on location for longer stretches. When it comes to low-light behavior, the D3S's sensor design really shines. The 12-megapixel resolution might feel modest compared to today's 45-megapixel giants, but the smaller pixel pitch means each pixel can gather more light, resulting in cleaner shadows and smoother gradients. In my side-by-side comparisons, a photo taken at ISO 6400 on the D3